Okay, we are live. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So today is November 20th, right? The time is right now 10:37 a.m. Eastern time on my side of the world, right where I am right now on the eastern side of the US. Uh, we have the student Muhammad Mubashir, who is doing his RQF Level 5 diploma in DevSysOps, right? From EduQual at
Yes.
RQF Level 5. Okay, so it's the same process. You already know all the terms and conditions and all the procedures, right? You were sent all the emails and everything to get ready for the preparation. You have already seen many interviews of other candidates going through the same process, right? So you already know that. So I wish you the best. Bismillah, you can start and share your screen. I have taken a lot of questions. So the first part is going to be the presentation. The second part is going to be the questions and answer, the Q&A, right? The goal is that once you are done with the presentation in minimum 15, maximum 20 minutes, not more than that, right? And then I will dive deeper into the Q&A session. Bismillah, you can proceed.
All
Share
right.
your
Can I
screen.
share my screen now?
Absolutely, yes.
All right. Thank you. So, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hello and Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. So, today my topic of my presentation is advanced configuration and resource orchestration in multi-cloud environment. So, let's have a look our overview, which we are covering in our next slide. So, introduction. Let's start our introduction. We are going to explore a key trend, how organizations move IT infrastructure, multi-cloud strategies. As many of you know more, organizations are choosing to adopt multi-cloud environment, allowing them to combine the unique strength of various cloud providers. However, with the flexibility, added complexity. Managing resources and configurations and workflows across multiple platforms can quickly become a challenge and consuming valuable time and resources. So I would like to propose a resource orchestration model that integrate three powerful tools, which is Ansible, Kubernetes, and Terraform as well. So before going to the introduction about Ansible and their other tools, we need to know about what is multi-cloud and hybrid cloud. So basically, a multi-cloud involves multiple cloud providers like AWS, Google Cloud, and Azure for different workload. It offers us a flexibility and avoid vendor locked in a contrast like a hybrid cloud environment combines on-premises infrastructure like private cloud and with public cloud services. It's allowing our to scalable operation and secure handling of sensitive data across both environments. So we need to discuss our challenges in multi-cloud environment. So in a multi-cloud environment, organization use multi-cloud providers and they are facing several challenges regarding configuration management complexity, security and compliance, cost optimization, resource orchestration challenges. So configuration management make it complex due to various architecture and it's difficult to make it uniform management and manually managing resources across cloud and error prone and time consuming. So resource orchestration challenges, the number two challenges which we are facing is cross cloud orchestration. Coordinating resources across cloud requires precise automation and service availability and latency balancing workload across cloud. It is difficult and to maintain availability and perform involves continuous monitoring. So the third challenge we are facing like security and compliances. Security, each providers has a different security models like AWS having IAM, Azure Active Directory. So it's making consistent security difficult. Compliance management, ensuring compliance across region and provide adds more complexity. Let me minimize this. So the cost optimization challenge, unpredictable cost, different pricing structure, making predicting and optimizing cost hard. Tools for cost control, integrate cost management tool across multiple providers is a challenging task. So the automation in multi-cloud environments, why automation is necessary? Because it provides efficient management and orchestration across multiple cloud platforms. It reduces manual errors. It improves consistency and enhances scalability. So the tools we are using in and discussing in our presentation. Number one tool is Ansible for multi-cloud automation. Basically, what is Ansible? Ansible is an open source tool. It provides a configuration management and orchestration. It uses simple YML playbooks and it is agentless working over SSH. So we don't need and we don't care about the destination server to install anything. It's working over SSH. So the key features of Ansible is inventory. It maintains the list of the server where we can group organize based on cloud provider, like the attachment as I shown in host.ini file, and the playbooks YML files that define steps of configuration and tasks which we need to develop and deployment our application, and roles organize playbooks into reusable units, improving modularity and reusability across different environments. So the example say attaching Ansible playbook that install Docker on server across Azure and AWS organized by inventory groups. So number second, Terraform for infrastructure as code. What is Terraform? Terraform is a HashiCorp for managing infrastructure across cloud. It uses declarative configuration. So the key features of the Terraform is provider. It is a provider-based architecture. It uses other APIs through provider ecosystem. Each provider is responsible for understanding API interaction for its services. So it has the number second feature is modules. Modules are reusable configuration that help organize resources and simplify complex setups. They can be shared and reused across project. Basically, we can segregate and making into small components. So it helps to simplify complex setups. The state management is Terraform keep tracks of the state of your infrastructure, allowing it to detect changes and plan updates accordingly. So the example as I attach in the Terraform for reference is Terraform configuration that provision an AWS EC2 instance and Azure VM simultaneously. Number third is Kubernetes for workload orchestration. So what is Kubernetes? Kubernetes basically is also an open source platform. It manages containerized application and it provides cross-cloud workload orchestration and scalability. The features of Kubernetes is container orchestration, cloud federation. Basically, cloud federation enables us to manage multiple Kubernetes cluster across different cloud and as if they were a single cluster. Service mesh, integrating Kubernetes with a service mesh like Istio enables secure and efficient communication between services, even if they are deployed across different clouds. So the example is deploy and load balance a microservice across GCP and AWS. So how these tools work together? So first of all, Ansible and Terraform for infrastructure provisioning and configuration. Terraform can help to provision our infrastructure like VMs, networks, and any other infrastructure that is related to our application across clouds, while Ansible can be used to configure to the service running on that infrastructure. Together, they provide end-to-end automation for both infrastructure and application. So the example is we can use Terraform to provisioning EC2 instance, and then Ansible we can use to install and configure the application on those instances that we provision by Terraform. So Kubernetes for workload orchestration. Once the infrastructure is in place, Kubernetes can orchestrate containerized application across the cloud, ensure high availability, it's enable the workload distribution and maintain the load balancing. So the end-to-end automation by combining these tools, we can automate the entire life cycle of cloud infrastructure from provisioning to application deployment. For example, we can use Terraform for provisioning resources, Ansible to configure them, and Kubernetes to orchestrate the application running on top. So the next topic we need to cover is resource orchestration model for multi-cloud environments. So let's discuss about the resource orchestration model. The overview of this model, it provide and leverage the Terraform, Ansible, and Kubernetes to automate and coordinate infrastructure and workload across multiple cloud providers like Azure, AWS, GCP, and many others. This ensures scalability, high availability, and cost optimization. So the steps will be provisioning with Terraform, as I mentioned in earlier slide. Terraform helps us to provision the infrastructure using infrastructure as a code. So number two steps will be configuration with Ansible. Ansible helps to configure the application deployment across multi-cloud providers. And number third step will be workload orchestration with Kubernetes. Kubernetes manage containerized application, providing automatic load balancing, scaling, and failover across cloud. So the advantage we can get from this model, which is cost optimization, resilience, it provides high availability, scalability, dynamic scaling based on demand through Kubernetes, and consistency. Ansible and Terraform ensure reproducible, consistent environment. So the use case of this model, I can take example. Consider an e-commerce platform. It requires high uptimes, and it need to scale when during a peak hour session. So Terraform provision infrastructure to optimize each cloud strength, like using AWS for high performance compute, Azure for networking, GCP for cost effective storage, and Ansible automates the deployment of web server, databases, and security configuration across all cloud providers. Kubernetes orchestrate containerize their application across the three clouds and maintain the high availability to ensure all traffic is distributed automatically, scaling based on the traffic. So this orchestration model ensures that the platform remains cost efficient, high availability, and easily scalable even in a multi-cloud environment. So the next topic is workload distribution for cost and performance efficiency. These tools provide a workload distribution for cost and performance efficiency. The importance of this workload distribution, like cost saving, performance optimization, it execute workload in cloud provider with the best performance for the task. Redundancy and reliability, reduce downtime risk by distributing workloads. Achieving cost efficiency without compromising performance. Optimizing resource utilization, using a multi-cloud elasticity to spin resource up down based on demand. We can use a reserved spot instance, leveraging these to save cost while maintaining performance. Spot instance workload shifting, provide low cost spot instance, and use Kubernetes to optimize performance. Cross cloud failover and redundancy. Configure a critical workload across clouds for high availability and load balancing during high traffic. So the strategies for workload distribution will be cost-aware resource allocation. The second is workload optimization with Kubernetes, and number third strategy will be Ansible for dynamic configuration. Provisioning resources. Number one strategy will be provisioning resources dynamically based on current pricing. So it helps to reduce our cost across multiple providers, and we can use Terraform cloud cost estimation tools for budget optimization. Workload optimization with Kubernetes. Kubernetes allows us to optimize workload distribution by distribute the workload across Kubernetes cluster. We can use horizontal pod scaling HPA, which automatically scale application across cloud. Number third strategy will be Ansible for dynamic configuration, automate redeployment of application services based on changing cost or performance need, moving workload to lower cost provider when pricing drops, like AWS spot instances. So here is also a use case for workload distribution. Like we consider as a company running a global video streaming service. that must optimize for both performance to deliver high quality video and to optimize our cost. So we can use Terraform for provisioning the underlying infrastructure by allocating compute resources on AWS for North American user, network resources on GCP for Europe, and storage resource on Azure for global video storage backup. Ansible dynamically configures the infrastructure to ensure that streaming services are optimally set up for local markets. It can also deploy updates in real time based on change in price or performance metrics. Kubernetes manages the orchestration of containerized video processing workloads, scaling instance up or down based on the traffic demand, and automatically shifting traffic between clouds to maintain smooth performance during high traffic periods. This approach ensures that workloads are distributed based on cost effectiveness while maintaining high performance standard, thus delivering a seamless customer experience. So the best practices we can consider and we need to focus for multi-cloud configuration and orchestration, like utilize infrastructure as code for consistency. We can use CI/CD pipelines for versioning control our infrastructure, and centralized configuration management with Ansible. We deploy Ansible to automate and standardize the configuration of application across multiple cloud providers using a modular playbooks for easy reuse and cloud specific updates. The next is automate resource orchestration with Kubernetes. Use Kubernetes for cross-cloud orchestration of containerized application, ensuring scalability and load balancing. Leverage Kubernetes auto-scaling to optimize performance and cost. There is a key tips for automate resource orchestration with Kubernetes. Enforce security best practices. Automate security policies with tools like Terraform and Ansible to ensure consistent security across all cloud platforms. Like we can implement a rollback access control and automate security compliance for least privilege enforcement. Next is monitor and optimize performance across cloud. So we can implement a centralized performance monitoring tool like Prometheus and Grafana for unified visibility across cloud environments, and proactively manage cloud cost, use automation to monitor and adjust resource based on usage and cost efficiency, avoiding overspending. Key tips will be regularly optimize resource allocation and use cost saving strategy like multi-cloud auto scaling. Ensure disaster recovery and redundancy, automate backup and failover procedure across cloud to maintain business continuity in case of any outage. Key tips will be design cloud agnostic infrastructure for seamless movement between providers. So the conclusion will be we explore multi-cloud orchestration using tools like Ansible, Terraform, and Kubernetes to streamline configuration management, and then we discuss about optimizing resources using across diverse cloud platform. So the key benefit will be flexibility and resilience. Multi-cloud setup enhance service availability, disaster recovery, and it minimize our downtime of application. The second benefit will be cost and performance optimization. It leveraging varied cloud pricing and performance option help balance cost efficiency with peak performance. Scalability and innovation, multi-cloud environment support dynamically scaling and access to top solution across providers. So after this model regarding resource orchestration and workload distribution, there are several challenges and insights like managing multi-cloud complexity requires careful integration, security and compliance policy automation. It requires continuously monitoring and disaster recovery planning are crucial to proactive resource management. So in the sum of and summary, mastering multi-cloud orchestration empower organization to provide reliable, high quality service in an evolving cloud system. So that's all from my side. Thank you for listening.
Okay, well, thank you for presenting. So let's jump into the Q&A session I have for you, right? So I did review your presentation and I was taking a lot of notes. There are 25 questions I have for you, right? That I'm going to ask you. So the topic is advanced configuration and orchestration in multi-cloud environments, right?
Yes.
Uh, why is it advanced configurations and orchestration and multi-cloud environment? Why is that the case?
The case will be because we need to orchestrate our application on
You can stop the
multi-cloud.
screen sharing, please, if you can. There's no need to. Yes. So why is it complex? Why do we need advanced level configurations?
Because every provider has a different architecture and API services. So this is complex to manage. So we need to use the automation tools to help our task and provide automation across multiple cloud providers.
Okay, that's good. So what is the key difference between a multi-cloud and a hybrid cloud environment?
Okay, the multi-cloud basically a combination of a multiple cloud providers like AWS, Azure, GCP, and many other like Alibaba. And the hybrid cloud basically a setup of combination private cloud like on-premises and the public cloud. We can use the services for running the application in public cloud, and we can use a sensitive data to secure in hybrid cloud.
So in an organization nowadays, what are you seeing when you look for the jobs or when you look for basically this is not an examination question, but like a question that you should know when you are applying for jobs because you're going through Al Razak program as well, right? So you're doing the OpenShift labs and all these labs. There's a ton of labs coming up, right? So altogether, there are, you know, how many labs are there? More than 40,000. But you
I
don't
Mr.
have
Kat, I wish.
40,000. That covers all the global different kinds of,
Like,
you know, there are more than 408, 410 standards for each and every industry, for pharmaceutical, for medicine, for biotech, for accounting, for business, for finance, for investment banks, you know, for aeronautical, for chemical engineering, for SCADA industries. Every industry has their own standards. Every industry has their own way of implementing these things, right? So uh, if you have a business, what is more cost benefit feasible for you? On-prem or cloud?
it is depend on the business reliability because every business is a different like I have a small business, so I prefer to the hybrid model because it saves my cost for running the multiple cloud providers. If I need a high availability of my application, so I need to move multi-cloud strategy, so it will
So what is
beneficial
more,
to me.
which one is more cheaper? It's a relative question. Which one is more cheaper? For a small business to medium-sized business, is on-prem easier to manage and cheaper versus cloud?
On-prem is cheaper for small businesses.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Because like you have to manage, you know, the data center. On-prem means it
All right,
is
all right, all right.
data center. Yeah.
Basically, on-prem need to manage several things because we need to manage from scratch. So basically, the other multi-cloud is a predefined services so that we can use.
Okay. I mean, for small businesses to medium-sized businesses, like having their own site, their own data center on premises, on perm as they call it, is going to be much more expensive. You need a data site, data center, you put the data there, have all those controls, you know, buy the hardware, depending on like what kind of setup you want to go for. Okay. There's a ton of
Okay, got
things.
it.
Need to have the resources to manage that. So most organizations are now going towards cloud, but it's a combination of cloud and on-prem for large organizations. And then even in the cloud, it's a multi-cloud environment, right? Even us, we have 80% of it is in Azure, is in AWS, but now we are distributing the load between Azure and AWS. So we are spreading ourselves, right? That is a project for 2025 for Nafi, because the Nafi cloud, where 10 million containers resides for students which are coming to be released in January, there are 10 million containers. So for each lab, there's a container. So you click on it, you get a 16 gig machine. You can play on it, do stuff. For the diploma students, they'll be able to access those machines, some of them for 1 hour, some of them 2 hours, some of them 3 hours. That's it.
So I have a question regarding this. So isn't it affect the cost performance
The cost is
if we
high.
use a several? Yes.
Cost is high. But
Okay.
like for us to build up the infrastructure, the cost is coming out to be 137 to $200,000 in between that range, right? But if you want to buy and have a system where we can, and that's per annum cost, not one time, per annum. But if you want to have the
Okay.
same thing offer 10 million containers, right? Using our own infrastructure, then we need millions of dollars of infrastructure and a data center site
Mm.
and a reliable internet connection and tons of other things. So for many businesses to be agile, having cloud solution makes perfect sense. For us, the cost
Okay.
over 10 years time is going to be around $3 to $4 million. But if we invest the same time in infrastructure and everything, the cost is going to balloon up. So even over 10 years
Yes,
time,
definitely.
it's beneficial for us, right? So that's the kind of questions that you'll be interviewed. When you're going through the interview for Al-Razak, these are the kinds of questions they're going to ask you.
Mm.
Because the reason that you have to go through Al-Razak is, I'm not going to prepare you for the interview, but these questions, you will see them there, right? It's all embedded in there. So how does Ansible multi-cloud environment, works? What does Ansible uses?
Basically, Ansible is written in a YML playbooks where we can define steps of configuration task for multiple cloud providers, and we can use the host inventory like as I mentioned in my presentation. So it helps us to deploy all our application together. So it helps for us to automate the configuration
How
management.
good are you with with YAML files?
Pretty good, but basically I did not done practical so much because I need to complete my presentation because I am working 12-hour shift, so it is difficult for me to complete the whole diploma. So I focus to complete first the videos and lecture and perform EduQual, and then my
And go
remaining.
into the Al-Razak. Okay, that's a good
Yes,
strategy. Okay, that's a good strategy.
yes.
Okay. So the question is, what measures ensure scalability and innovation in multi-cloud configuration? What do you have to do? It's a very buzzword that everyone says, learn this, learn this. It's very important. It's the day and age of the containers. What is it?
Can you explain again?
So what measures ensure scalability and innovation in a multi-cloud environment?
Okay. So the measures we can ensure in multi-cloud environment regarding the basic needs of application, the workloads based on their demands, like application need to high resources, so uh, it's responsibility to manage overall cloud provider and distribute the workload. So I think this need to ensure to scalable
So
workload.
yeah, I mean, it's a combination of Kubernetes auto scaling, infrastructure as a
Yes.
code, security as a code, artificial intelligence as a code, right? For dynamic provisioning, auto scaling, real-time monitoring, all of those things. It was a tough
Okay.
question. You
I note
answered
down the question.
part of
Yeah.
it. You answered a part of it. You will get like a small sliver of the mark, but would have been done easily. Design if you have to design an optimized workload distribution model for a global video streaming service, as you mentioned,
Yes.
what would you do? It's a global video streaming, just like Netflix or HBO or any of these big platforms, right? Hulu or whatever, right?
Okay.
So what do you have to do? Just like, Mike Tyson and Jake Paul match was happening, the Netflix, there was so much traffic coming in from US and from all over the world that the network streaming crashed. So in the morning, when I woke up, I didn't watch the match. I didn't have the time
Okay.
or the energy to watch the match. I didn't want it to watch the match either anyway. But like when I woke up in the morning, I was reading the news that, the network went down for 6 hours, 7 hours. Many of the areas Netflix was not available. What went wrong? So if you have to design an optimized workload distribution model for a global video streaming service, what would you do differently so that this doesn't happen?
Applying CDN,
Yeah, CDN is one thing. Content, yes.
and edge computing for
Edge
distributing
computing.
the network,
Okay, okay.
and also automatic scaling and automatic creating a load balancer to distribute the
In your own
traffic.
presentation, you have mentioned Terraform and or whatnot. So how would you use
Mhm.
Terraform and Kubernetes and all these kind of things? Mention to me as per your presentation, right? So
Okay, okay.
presentation.
So I can use Terraform for provisioning the infrastructure and allocating the computing resources, like a different specific users for the region. I create AWS instances for North American user and network resources on GCP for Europe user, and storage resources on Azure for global video storage and backup. So basically, the Ansible dynamically configures the infrastructure to ensure the streaming services and optimal to set up for local markets. So it is basically the caching CDN helps to providing the users for better availability of the video streaming.
Good. Okay. So how can automation reduce compliance complexity in multi-cloud setups?
Okay. For multi-cloud setup, automation helps to creating a standardized policies for compliance. So it is help us to rather than we need to focus on every cloud provider, we can manage a centralized compliance tools to creating the policy, enforcing them, and use them, and performing a regular audit is necessary to ensure they all meet our perfect vision.
Okay. Uh, how does Kubernetes manage traffic in cross-cloud setups? Like, there is EKS, and then there is so there is Kubernetes running in AWS, there is Kubernetes running in Azure.
Okay.
How would you manage the traffic in a cross-cloud setup? It's a two cross-cloud setup, right? So both the clouds are different, containers are the same, but how would you load balance them? What would you do? I
By
already gave
using
you the answer.
centralized
Sorry about
tool,
that.
by
Yes,
using centralized tool like Kubernetes Federation, which helps to communicate the multiple clusters
yes.
by joining a single
Did
cluster.
you did
So
you studied
I
about
think the tools
so did you studied about the Kubernetes
Kubernetes.
Federation?
Yes, I studied a little bit using ChatGPT and searching in Google. Like I found a command like just like we use Docker Swarm to join a multiple container.
Yeah.
So Kubernetes Federation is also the same thing. We need to create and join defining them and performing the
It
services.
is very important for you to become the next QB astronaut, just like Junaid did, right?
Yes, I saw.
Because if you do that with Al Razak Labs, because in Al Razak we cover KCNA, KCSA, these are simple. Then CCAT, CKA, CKS, and then there are multiple scenarios based on Red Hat and many other certifications, right? As per what the employers are asking for, because these employers they give us the job requirements, and we create the
Yes,
labs as per the job requirements. So if you follow that, then you will be
yes,
unstoppable.
I
And
am also started to do a other that basically I have completed the starter lab, Linux and OpenShift.
how were the
I
starter labs?
completed.
Were you able to do it comfortably?
Yes, basically Linux starter lab is so much easier, but when it's come to a OpenShift, so it's become a complex. We need to manage from scratch, so it is difficult. But have a
But
fun and learning.
yes, that's why we are opening the 10 million containers, right? So the only difference is going to be you will have the container, but you will also have the AI to help you. But then we are also doing another thing, which is going to be available next year, June, where the AI will be sitting in the container. So whatever you run on the container, Windows or Linux, whatever, right? The AI will be reading your keystrokes and will tell you if you're doing the right thing or the wrong thing. So
Okay,
that's
so
the
this is a
kind.
complex project, I think.
That's a very complex project, just to create the script when the machine loads and it
Yes.
requires more than 21 different services to be enabled at the same time, right?
So it is defined predefined matrices like AI detect. How AI detect?
So AI is reading the logs in real time, what is
Okay.
happening, and through user behavior analytics tools, it is also monitoring your keystrokes, right? So whatever you're typing, it is listening and it is watching and it is observing,
Okay.
and then it is also looking at the logs and telling you this command is right or this command is wrong on the side. It's a very complex project,
Yes.
so uh, there's a lot of things coming up in AI ops, and I'm teaching you all of these things. So this is how you integrate AI ops into the companies, right? Because the companies will be going for this in the coming days, in the coming months, in the coming years, right? My strong recommendation to you would be to start planning out, and you can move to countries where you can bring in your parents comfortably, inshallah. All right, so
Yes. Inshallah.
uh, what is the best practice for handling unpredictable cost in multi-cloud environment?
Okay. So
We
the
do
best
this
practice
ourselves.
could be the using tools, automation, and also cloud native tools like Azure having Cost Explorer, I think, and AWS having Cost Explorer, and Azure as cost management. So
Mhm.
we can use cloud native tools and also uh, centralized cost optimization tool, distribute the workloads when it's required necessary usage. So it's have to efficient cost.
Oh, there's another thing that I'm missing, like optimize reserve spots instances, reserve the instance using spot
Yes,
instances, automated scaling and efficiency. So I'm going to give you half a point for that. You mentioned the tools, but you missed
yes.
one of the things because we
Must.
do reserve instances in advance, pay for them for the whole year, but then it becomes cheaper for us because you can't tap the spot instance all the time, right? So
Okay.
because spot instance is not available all the time because
Yes.
it's a spare capacity. If they have the capacity, they will give it to you. If they don't have the capacity, they can't give you anything. Then you have to go on demand, and on demand can be very expensive. Okay, so how would you design a fail-safe platform?
Fail-safe platform.
It's
Okay.
like a fail-safe e-commerce platform across AWS, Azure, and GCP, where if anything happens, to the site, if the workload is increasing, it keeps on being moved on to the next
Okay.
cloud.
Understand.
You have three clouds: Azure, AWS, GCP.
GCP.
How would you design a website to reside on these three clouds in a fail-safe way? If one cloud fails, still have two. If the second fails, still have the third one. The possibility of failing all three at the same time is pretty low, next to negligible, right? So, well, how would you do that?
Okay. So first of all, implementing a load balancer. Whenever one cloud fails, it
What
reroute the
kind of
loads
load
to
balancer? What
another
kind of load balancer?
for DNS failover load balancer,
Okay, yeah, it's a global load balancer. Okay.
applying health checks and continuous monitoring. So it's apt for the I think, are you referring to zero downtime methodology? Like,
Mhm.
so if we can achieve by using these
Yeah,
strategies.
there are more things to it, like the Kubernetes auto scaling and the Kubernetes failover. There's a ton of things. Uh, how would you create a self-healing multi-cloud infrastructure that automatically detects and remediates security vulnerabilities, performance issues, and compliance violations?
Using a CI/CD pipeline, it's whenever any detect unnecessary detect, so it's auto heal by using automation and
How would you do
using
that? I mean, what is the most important component in creating a self-healing multi-cloud infrastructure?
the most important component will be using a Terraform and Ansible.
No, it's going to be to implement an AI-driven anomaly detection,
Okay.
created automated remediation workflows, right? Creating, like, essentially it's AI as a code and security as a code within the infrastructure as a code template to make sure like whatever happens, we are able to see, right? And take actions in a proactive fashion. There's a ton of things that goes in there. Okay, the next is going to be if you have to develop a solution consisting sub-millisecond latency for a global application deployed across multiple cloud providers, what is the most important thing you have to do?
Okay. Like self, I did not get the question. Like,
So you have to develop a solution with millisecond or millisecond
okay.
latency, right? What would you do, for a global application deployed across multi-cloud providers?
Oh, okay.
It's a high-frequency trading network, right? It's like investment banks, stock markets, they use this. What would you
Okay.
do? It's
I
related to
feel,
your presentation, by the way. It's related to your presentation. I'm going to jump into the difficult questions now. So you have to implement a global load balancer with any cast routing, right? And then you also mentioned the edge. So the edge cache deployment is there, then scaling based on predictive regional traffic patterns. There's a ton of things you have to look into. Okay, the next thing is you have to design an automated system, right? Looking at your presentation that optimizes workload placement across 5 cloud providers based on real-time pricing, performance matrix, and compliance requirements. How would you achieve this?
basically, my goal is to optimize a workload.
So, let me give you an example. When I give you a tough question, divide it, write it down. Have a pen in front of you. And you write it down and say,
Yes.
okay, design an automated system that optimizes workload placement, if the work across 5 cloud providers. So
Okay.
there's AWS 2 regions, Azure 2 regions, GCP 5. They're different cloud providers, different regions. Or you can say, okay, 5 different cloud providers, AWS, Azure, GCP, IBM, Alibaba,
Okay.
Oracle, whatever, right? The question is, based on real-time pricing, you're looking at the pricing. Oh, wait a minute. Spot instance is reserved here. It's cheaper. We move the loads to Azure, all the containers.
Okay.
Through federated orchestration, you say, oh, wait a minute. Now pricing is cheaper on GCP. Move the containers over here, right? So you're placing
Okay.
the containers in a way to manage and lower the cost, because when the containers goes up, we are facing this issue right now. We have 10 million containers, right?
Okay.
And that requires a lot of samulis. You know what samulis mean? A lot of money, right? So that's the word that my son came up with. So he said to me, that requires a lot of samuli. So I started laughing. I said, okay, you're right. So, when you have 10 million containers in a given month, right, that you have to manage, it becomes unbearable and very difficult. So the orchestration layer needs to design in a way that it manages the containers from here to there and from here to there. It's just a container, right? This is the cup. It's a
Okay.
container. You move it to AWS, Azure, GCP,
I
IBM,
see.
so you're just moving the container. How would you do that? It's a bonus level question. 3 marks.
Okay. 3 months.
Lately,
So
what
basically,
people have started doing is they've started jumping into using Chat GPT or whatever to create their presentations and also get answers. So now I have to throw very tough questions that even Chat GPT can't think of.
basically, I also follow the same method earlier, but when I see the Mohammad's presentation, so I think I need to learn a service level of all tools
You have to,
to
because
provide
this is
a
important. I mean, we can't stop people using
yeah.
GPT. It's
Yes,
fine,
correct.
but you need to learn the most important aspect, which is like how to augment yourself with AI. Don't depend on AI. Augmenting and depending are two different things, you know? So you have to augment yourself with AI. So I have so many tough questions that, alhamdulillah, I can collect my experience and I can come up with. Obviously,
Yes, indeed.
as I'm asking those questions, the AI can upgrade itself and update itself as it's learning from me. But there is still, I can twist and turn that you guys will have a difficult time. So tell me, how would you do that?
Okay, so for dividing a workload across 5 cloud providers based on real-time pricing. So I think we can use a tool and fetching the data real time using APIs to fetching prices and integrate with automation tools and deploy workload to the most effective cloud providers
And let's
whenever.
jump on to the next question.
Okay,
Okay, so you have to design a zero trust security architecture for a
okay.
multi-cloud environment. What are the most important aspects you have to look into?
Basically, a zero.
Zero
I
trust.
did not get your question.
Zero
Zero
trust.
trust. Okay. Zero trust basically we need to implement security protocols like least privileges, rollback access control, and conducting regular monitoring to making it zero trust model, applying VPNs, data encrypting the data, and using firewalls. So basically, these all strategies can be added when we made a zero trust model.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of things you have to look into, implement identity-based
Yes,
access controls, have a federated identity model, configure micro-segmentations, trust no one, verify all, deploy
verify.
unified secret management, so everything in this kind of architecture, everything needs to be federated level, right? Okay.
Yeah, yesterday slide I remember the one of.
Yeah, yeah,
And
okay. So if you have to design a disaster recovery solution that maintains uh, lowest recovery, uh, point objective across the cloud providers, what would you do?
okay, for lowest recovery, I can implement automated failover, DNS failover. Just I already mentioned in earlier. For disaster recovery, we need to automate backup and failure procedure to across cloud to maintain business continuity in case of any outage. So these are the strategy, I think.
So what about data replication across multiple
Data,
regions?
data,
Figure
data
automated
replication.
DNS failover, distributed workload through
Yes.
Kubernetes, a ton of things. Okay.
Okay.
Want to have some water?
Mhm.
Please have some. So let me open your presentation.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So how would you perform dynamic optimization across clouds? How would you do that? Like, for example, describe
How would you-
how would you implement a dynamic cost performance optimization model using real-time pricing API, because you mentioned API, right? API, we will
Yes.
call the pricing from API. from AWS, Azure, and GCP. Explain to me how Terraform, Ansible, and Kubernetes would work together to shift workloads in response to changing prices or performance matrices. How would you do
I
that?
think for this case we need to define the matrices in Terraform to automatic to perform dynamic cost performance, integrate pricing APIs using APIs from cloud providers like Azure pricing APIs, Azure retail pricing APIs for fetching the real-time pricing, and building
I
a
ask
cost
you three
performance
things.
model.
I ask you three things. How would you use Terraform, Ansible, Kubernetes? So give me an example. I would use Terraform like this, Ansible like this, Kubernetes like this.
Okay,
How would you do that?
I use Terraform for
Okay.
defining the defining the infrastructure for based on the cost optimization
For fetching the real-time cost data, you will
for
use
fetching the real
Terraform.
time.
And then you will use
Okay, so
Ansible for what?
then Ansible for configuration management for the provisioning infrastructure
Yes,
based on
okay,
the
good. And then for
cost
Kubernetes, for what?
optimization. Then Kubernetes for orchestration and workload the container application when we need a cost effective instances, so it distribute the workload.
Good. That's what I wanted to hear. Okay. How would you design a fault-tolerant system for a mission-critical application across 3 cloud providers, ensuring zero downtime during regional outage?
Okay,
What kind of failover mechanisms would you use? Give me an example.
okay. Implementing DNS failover, automatic DNS failover, using a global load balancer, applying health checks and failover using a data replication use real-time data replication across cloud, and using orchestration in Kubernetes for dynamic scaling and failover management, and testing the regular testing disaster recovery for failover scenarios. I think this is the most crucial part for testing the disaster recovery when we implement.
What kind of standard would you use for disaster recovery?
What kind of, sorry,
Standard.
standard? So I
You learned
think
that.
for disaster recovery.
You learned some of that in your DCCS.
Okay,
What standard was that? It's an international standard that is used across the board.
I think I really not remember at the moment.
All right, let's proceed. Let's proceed.
I need to note down. Can you please?
ISO 22301 for business
So
continuity and disaster recovery. That's what you use. And the system known as BCMS, Business Continuity Management System. Okay. All right.
okay,
Just today, what happened was like in our company, in one of the office in Pakistan, what happened was just like, we have a generator, huge, massive generator that is able to support all the 100 systems, 100 plus systems that resides in our office, right? So what happened was that, and multiple air conditioners and whatnot, right? So there are like 20 air conditioners in every room. There are 20 rooms,
okay,
all the labs and everything. So it's big facility. So they only do testing of generator, the backup generator, once a month, right? So
okay,
what happened was after many months, we had some load shedding happening. There was no electricity for 6 hours. And I had to join a meeting with the whole teams. And it turns out the generator was not working. So they had to call in the guy. The guy came in and he fixed the generator, but we lost a lot of productive time. So I picked up
yes,
the phone and I talked to the managing director, update the BCMS plan where you have to test the generator every single day. Run it for 10 minutes,
okay,
shut it down. Run it for 10 minutes, shut it down. every 24 hours, you should do that process, because the last thing I need is those guys from different teams, DevOps, SysOps, AI Ops, SecOps, QA Ops, all of these digital transformation team, none of these teams were able to join because we had this issue. These guys were just sitting over there relaxing, right? So that happens. So you need to come up with a plan as per the BCMS. So what we follow what we preach, right? And that's what we do. Okay, so you are tasked with integrating an AWS Lambda function, right, with an Azure Logic app and GCP. In the GCP, we have a pub and sub queue, right, to create a unified workflow. How would you orchestrate this integration, and what tools would you use?
For orchestration, I use Kubernetes for orchestrating them, and
For establishing
Terraform
AI communication, what would you do first?
for establishing.
The API communication, what would you use first?
I use Terraform for establishing the
Terraform,
API
okay, that's the
communication.
answer. And then for managing the configuration, authentication,
Managing configuration is totally up to the Ansible to
Ansible,
automate
okay,
the
that's how
process.
you have to answer. And for using the
Alright.
service mesh, what would you use? Something
Using the
that we
service mesh
covered in
for
Al-Razak lab.
Kubernetes. Kubernetes for using the service mesh.
For multi-cloud environments, we use Apple Camel, Apache Camel.
Apache Camo.
The Apache Camel. It's to handle
Okay.
cross-cloud messaging, So
So it is a centralized tool.
Sorry?
It is a centralized tool, Apache Camel.
It's a middleware. It's a middleware like
Okay.
Apache Camel, right? So what it does is it's able to communicate with multiple cloud providers, creating a service, messaging mesh, right? That's service mesh, we call it, right? This is in Al-Razak. When you move forward, you will see Apache Camel Labs.
All right.
If you do Al-Razak Labs, you will be sitting there and being able to answer any question. Al-Razak is very unique. It's just like the
Yeah.
name of Allah, the one who provides you sustenance, Al-Razak. This is the Al-Razak program. It's based on the same principles, right? We are opening into the world now. If anyone just wants to practice Al-Razak, they can buy the membership and they can do that on alnafi.cloud soon. But if they want to get the Al-Razak program benefits and all of those things, then they should study the diploma program. From January
Yes.
2025, Al-Razak Labs will become mandatory assignments for anyone to get the
Oh,
diploma. To get the diploma, you must complete Al-Razak, at least 50% of it. To get the 100% job guarantee, you complete the 100%, Al-Razak. But for the diploma, even just for the diploma, you need to complete that. That will become part of it. So the diplomas are going to get tougher and tougher and tougher, but not impossible. But it will make you a better man. When you come out, you will be a different person. See,
it's
like,
a lot of stress. I think doing diploma, a lot of stress by completing
not
in
stress.
first company.
You won't be stressing because you will be given a machine with everything there. Click on it, machine is
Okay.
ready, right? Half of your stress is gone because you don't have to install any VM,
Yeah.
nothing. And the commands you have to run, it's already there. So there are simple
Okay.
labs, then there are troubleshooting labs. Troubleshooting labs is where you will have the stress. You have to troubleshoot because there will be a mistake in the lab.
Okay.
That is the tougher ones. Those are tougher labs, right? But it's easier. Okay, so time is up. Let me compile your score.
Sure.
Okay, so in the presentation, right? Just give me 1 minute. Okay, so your total score is 70%, right? In the presentation, you
Okay.
scored 18 out of
Okay.
25, okay?
Yes.
And then in the Q&A session, you scored 16.25 out of 25, okay?
Okay.
So 18 plus 16.25 gives you, so you scored like, plus there are 2 marks for, bonus marks for that. So you scored around 70%, right? So you have
Right.
your diploma.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, this is good, right? But as you can see, as we are evolving, things are going to get tougher and tougher, right?
Yes.
2 new examiners are coming in. And
Okay.
before even they can become examiners themselves, they are going through the AI Ops diploma themselves. So they will be going through their exams in the coming weeks. You will see them, and then they will become the examiners themselves, right? So I am the chief examiner, but then there are multiple examiners coming in because we need more dates for making sure, like, more people are available, so on and so forth, because there's so many people coming in. But at the same time,
Schedule are tough.
Al Razak labs are going to become mandatory from January. So anyone who registered from January onwards, they have to follow the new rules, right? The new rules stipulates that they
Okay.
have to perform Al Razak labs. Anyone who's doing registration right now and getting registered for the courses and for the exams at the same time, they the new policy won't be applicable on them. But if they want
Okay.
to go for the job placement, then yes, they have to. They must complete Al Razak program, right? In Al Razak program, you will have a lot of assistance. The containers will be ready, everything will be available. So you don't have to worry about, like, what would I do this, what would I do that? Because most of the things will be available for you, right?
Okay.
Machines will be available for you, assistants will be there, and our AI Albari is already learning those labs and it knows those labs, right? So if you're stuck, you can ask the question, but in the next 6 months, when you are stuck, you don't even have to ask. It will tell you if you're doing it right or wrong, because it will be already embedded in there. Right now, we're just going through the embedding
Okay.
process and testing it out because it's a dynamic container. We give you the container, everything loads up, and then container is teared down. Once we tear down the container, the data still resides, right? So there's a lot of things coming up.
Okay.
There's a lot of things coming in. So I'm happy for you, Muhammad Mubashir. I congratulate you for passing
Yes.
the
Thank
RQF
you.
level 5. You still have Al Razak Labs. I would suggest you to go for them and try to go for Kubernetes exams. They
Inshallah.
are going to be beneficial for you. I'm not going to
Okay.
tell you to go for Red Hat exams because there is no need. We have already covered Al Razak things in there. By the way, Al Razak next year, 2025, will be going through ISO 17025 accreditation
Okay.
process, um, which will enable the Al Razak program to be very tough and comparable to CISSP and CISA and Kubernetes certifications and all those things, right? we are creating our own certifications
Okay.
and getting them certified and accredited, right, by ISO third-party body, right? That's part of the process, getting our diplomas, uh, you know. So rather than working with EduQual and Pearson ourselves, they will be there.
Yes.
We will become just like EduQual and Pearson ourselves because we're going through off-call as well right now as we speak. So
Okay.
there are multiple things coming up. You will know. My recommendation to you is work hard, work smart, and perform all the labs, memorize uh, the question and answers being offered in the labs. As you move forward, you will find question and answers for a given lab
Okay.
that will prepare you better for the interview. Because from next year, we won't be giving anyone new resumes because everyone will have the resumes created by the platform as they complete Al Razak labs. So those days of creating resume they are gone, right? So there are new changes coming up, and that new resume will have the ATS score and all the other things that the companies are looking for, so on and so forth, right? So you will have the time, inshallah, to make
Inshallah.
yourself better and fully prepared. My recommendation to you is if you have done RQF level 5, you know, apply for a bachelor's degree last year, and we can assist you with that. In some of these British universities, you can apply and you can go there, right? Or you can even apply for master's degree if you want to do that, right?
Okay.
If you can, I mean, you have the family. Going to UK
Yes.
is help you because the UK that you can't sponsor your family. In the US, you can. In the
Okay.
US. So if you go to
Or
US,
in the Middle East?
in the Middle East as well, you can, right? It's a simple process of sponsoring your family. Once you secure a job in Middle East, you can move there. And then once you're there, set up your eyes to US, right? Or some of these other countries.
Sure.
Because
Yes.
they are looking for highly talented people, right? If you can pass my grilling, everything else is easy. Trust me, right?
Okay.
This was me 10% grilling you. If I go 100%, certainly everyone will fail but that's not part of the job
Yes, correct.
outside the scope of the exam. Then I will be going outside the scope of the exam as per the job description. You pass the exam as per the examination scope, right? So we have to be just
Yes.
fair, right? So that's good.
Okay.
Keep on working hard. Do you have any questions for me?
Nothing, but how to get in Gulf countries means I need to apply from here.
So if you complete the Al Razak program, we help you
Okay.
along the way getting you there. If you complete 100%, we place you over there. If you're not able to do that within 1 year after you completing your Al Razak 100%, we give your money back, right? Whatever you invested here, apart from the examination fee, that's our money back guarantee, right? But you have to perform all the labs, you have to complete all the labs, and along the way, pass some of the external exams, smaller certification exams, but they will bump your resume further, right? To counteract that, we are already working in terms of getting our Al Razak certified program to be internationally recognized, but that requires 6 to 9 months time next year to be completed, right? But in the
Okay.
meantime, we can assist you every step of the way, preparing you for the interviews, getting your slots for the interviews, doing all of those things, right? Inshallah. My recommendation to
Inshallah.
you is if you have family as just single parents, like with you, you're single right
Yes.
now, then
Yes.
try to go for Middle East, settle there, stabilize yourself, and then from there, set your eyes towards US or any other countries, because
Okay.
all of these Western countries, they they are looking for highly talented people who can participate in expanding their economies further. And your discipline, your subject is part of their immigration stream that they're offering for, right? Okay.
Okay.
Good luck for
Thank you.
your future plans and whatnot. Complete the Al Razak program and may Allah help you and me both in
Amin.
achieving our goals. Okay, Jazakallah khair.
Thank
سبحانك
you so
اللهم
much.
وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم